The summer term is one of my favourite times of the year, and I've said this before because there's all sorts of fun stuff that does happen throughout the summer term, but it's also really helpful that at the end of the year, one of the best things happens, and that's two things. You get to celebrate all the amazing things you've done with your class as you kind of come to the end of the year, and you also get to welcome in your new class and start getting to know them and start working with them in transition week. Now, some schools have transition week, some schools do it for 2 days, some schools do it for a morning, some schools do it for 2 weeks. Every school will do something different for their transition week or transition activities. But at my school, we have a couple of days and we just get to know a new class, do some fun stuff with them, kind of set our stall out for who we are, how we work, and then start getting to know the children. And it's a really, really exciting time for me because you start getting to know the new challenges that await you, the new challenges that await the children coming into your new class. And then, like we said, you get to celebrate the class that you've had for the last year, all the hard work you've done with them, all the hard work they've done, the successes they've achieved, and just generally celebrate all of those and make sure that kind of they're ready to move on up to the new teacher in the new class. So it's one of my favourite times of year, and I just want to talk about, as a teacher, how do you then set your stall out? How do you set your expectations? How do you get ready for your new class? So the first thing kind of I wanted to say is, with the new class, be honest with them. Don't kind of say things that you don't really mean. Don't kind of scare them into thinking that you're this person that you are sometimes, but not always. Be honest with them about who you are as a teacher. If that's a teacher that loves getting outside and working outside and doing stuff out there, then let them know that. Get them excited, get them looking forward to doing those things. If you're someone who loves maths and is really mathsy and you're brilliant at that, and then you're going to work with them together on English and kind of improve your own English with them, be honest with them about that. Generally, be honest with them about everything that you're going to be doing, because the worst thing you could do at this point is set their expectations really, really high for stuff they're really looking forward to do, and then actually during the school year not really meet them because you can't quite do that. So be honest with them about what your ideas are for the year ahead, what type of things you're doing, what trips you're going to go on, what topics you're going to be doing. Get them excited, but don't big up their ideas too far, because you need to be realistic with your expectations of what it is. And with your expectations, get them set at a high standard. Set them at where you want and keep them up there that entire year. I put videos out about setting expectations, and it's something that as a newly qualified teacher, I struggle with setting expectations high enough. And to be honest, I didn't set them as high as I should have done. And it's something I've learned over the years about where they should be and how high they should be. And moving year groups has also helped, because I had to kind of reassess where my expectations were. And nowadays I make sure I set them at a really high standard, and I do my best to keep them up there the entire year all the way through, because it's about setting your stall out. It's about letting the children know what it is you're expecting from them and what it is they should expect from you. And if you're consistent with that, then everyone will get along with it. It might take a little while at first to get used to the new expectations of your teaching compared to the previous teacher they had, because every teacher teaches differently and every class has different things that you can and can't do, and that's just the way school works. Even if you follow the same rules, there's always different quirks to each teacher. But once you set your expectations, don't let them move, don't let them shift, don't let them go down. Also, don't raise them any higher unless you really, really have to, because it's always kind of easy. The easiest thing in the world is to let your expectations slip, and to suddenly, where during the first week you expected everything to be at this standard, and actually go, oh, well, you know what, they've had a hard week, we'll just lower that expectation. But that's the easiest thing in the world to do. However, it leads to sloppy work, it leads to sloppy behaviour, sloppy expectations, and it's really hard to then push those back up again and get those expectations back to where they should be. So the one thing I'd say during transition week is set your expectations where you want them and hold them there throughout the entire year. Write them down if you need to, just don't let them slip throughout that school year. Now, once you've got those expectations set and you've been honest with them, you've talked about what you're going to do in the upcoming year, think about what activities you're going to be doing. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing a mix of things. Some things where I'm going to do some kind of normal lessons to show them how I'm teaching, because they're going to have to get used to how you teach and what you expect and how things are done. But I'm also going to make sure that I'm going to do some fun stuff and I'm going to have a bit of a good time with them, because I want them to know that actually school is meant to be a fun place. If a child's not enjoying school, then it doesn't matter how well they're doing, if they're not enjoying it, there's no point to any of it. So it's about making sure that they know when they come into my classroom, they're there to work, they're there to get stuff done. And year 5 is all about working independently, so they're generally there to do it on their own with a little bit of support from an adult, because they need to start being able to do that on themselves and get ready for SATs in year 6 and that kind of thing. And those are the things that actually are kind of new to year 4. So it's about setting out and making sure they're ready for that. But it's also about having fun. That's what school's all about. It's about enjoying yourself and making sure you know when to have fun and when to pull it in a little bit and when to get on. It's about being honest with them and saying, look, this is what you're here for, this is what you're ready for, this is what school exists for, so let's get on with it and let's get it done. And if we all work together, we'll have a great time. But they need to know that it's working together, it's following the rules, it's doing the right thing. You also want to make sure that when you're talking to the new children in your new class, you are listening to everything they say and trying to absorb as much information about them as you can, because there's 30 children in that class approximately. I know every school's a bit different. You've got 30 children there, and each child's got different interests, got different hobbies, got different likes, different dislikes, different things that they want to talk to you about, different things that they maybe don't don't want to talk to you about. And it's about getting to know the children and how they work. Because as a teacher, the best thing you can do is form a really good bond with all the children in the class. And once you get to know how they tick, how they work, what things motivate them, what things demotivate them, then you're kind of unlocking the skills you need to do a good job that year and to work with that class really, really well. So it can be really tough at the start when you've got 30 children, you don't know which ones maybe like a little joke, which ones like just a serious conversation, which ones can get upset sometimes a bit when they're struggling with something, or which ones like a challenge. Those kind of questions are things that you need to sort out. You need to sort out as quickly as you can, because then once you know that, you know how to motivate those children and get them through whatever the work is coming up. So make sure that over those couple of days, if you've got 2 days over that week, you're going around and you're having a chat with every single child and you're listening to what they're saying to you. You're listening to how they work, how they want to work, what types of things really makes them tick, what types of things really kind of sometimes they can struggle with, because it can be part of the whole year can rest on how you set out those first few weeks, how you get to know the children and how quickly they get to know you. Because if you can get that bond with them really, really well, then all of a sudden the rest of the year will look like it's a breeze, because you know what makes them go, you know what makes them roll forward, and you can keep them going on that good path, getting the learning done and also enjoying themselves. One of the big things that I'm going to do this year when I start, I'm probably going to do it in September and set my expectations for this then, because we haven't got the new books to use in transition week, but it's going to be all about how to lay the work out correctly. I've worked really hard this year at making sure that my class is presenting their work in a neat as possible way in every single lesson. And personally, I'm very happy with the progress that I've made, and I'm very happy with the progress my class has made in making sure their work is presented neatly, and they do work hard at it. But it's something that I want to make sure from the get-go I'm setting out straight away, because I didn't at the start of last year, and we then had to work on it and work on it and work on it. And to be fair to the children, they did a smashing job. Their work have looked really, really good for the last few months now. But it's about making sure that from September, from the get-go, the children know exactly how I want their work to be laid out, and they're doing it exactly to the letter. Because it's one of those things where, again, if your standards slip, if your expectations slip, all of a sudden your books can look a bit tatty, they can look a bit messy, they can have writing all over the place, and it just doesn't give that professional feel for a classroom. And even though the children are, they're only year 5s, they're only 9, they're only 10, it's about saying that actually they should be proud of the work they've done. They should be excited to show off how hard they've worked. And that's not something you can do when you're missing a front cover on a book, or you've done some drawing on the front and doodling, and it's just not the same feel to it. So it's about making sure they know exactly how to lay out their work, and the presentation expectations that I expect from a year 5 class are quite high, but that's how it should be. They should be working hard to present their work neatly. It's not something that comes easily to a lot of children. It's not something that comes easily to me even now when I'm doing work. I have to really think about it when I'm writing to make sure my writing is neat and legible, and that's something they need to really think about every time they do a piece of writing. It must be legible, it must be neat, and it must be joined up. And then once we've done that, then we can crack on and we can practice with expanding our writing style, that kind of thing. So set those presentation expectations out just as much as you set your kind of expectations of the amount of work that's done, the way the work's done, the behaviour in class. Presentation is just as important as all of those. And the final expectation is a little bit of a fun one, but it's something that is a really, really good way of motivating every single class I've ever taught. And that is that in year 5, I always say to the class, we've got one goal all year. If there's anything we do, it's this. And that is that we have to beat year 6. We have to beat year 6 at everything. If it's just walking into assembly, we need to walk in smarter and quieter. If it's lining up in the dinner hall, we need to line up in a straighter line. If it's going out in the field, we need to be nicer, we need to play better, we need to help them out more. If it's doing jobs around school, then we want to be the ones that get volunteered to do stuff because year 6 are too busy. We need to make sure that we're beating them in every single way that we can. And it's a bit of healthy competition, it's a bit of fun, but it's also about saying, actually guys, you're going to be them next year, so you need to get ready now, because the whole point of year 5 is to get ready for year 6. So if we're going to beat year 6, then we're already ready, aren't we guys? We're already there. And it's always a bit of fun, but it also just fosters that healthy competition, and it means they're not kind of competing against themselves. It's more about working as a team to compete against another year group. It can get a bit much if children don't always like that competition against their friends, but if it's another class, then it's always a bit more of a team-spirited thing, and it's a lot of fun. So we always have a go at beating the year above, and that can apply to any year group, year 2 to beat year 3, year 3 to beat year 4, absolutely anything. So they're my expectations. They're what I'm going to set out to my class in transition week and in September, and I'm going to make sure that I hold those expectations as high as I can all the way through the year, because it's about keeping that consistency and making sure the children know what to expect in every single lesson from me, from the other adults in the classroom, and to make sure that they're ready to meet those targets every single day. So hopefully you found this useful, and as always, if you've got any questions, stick them in the comments down below. I'll do my very best to answer them as quickly as I can. And there's a new video on a Tuesday, a Friday and a Sunday, and I'll see you very soon.